dawn over the rugged landscape. A small group of humans steps out from the mouth of a limestone cave, their day already underway. Some scan the horizon for game. Others gather kindling for the fire that never truly goes out. But what exactly filled the hours of our Paleolithic ancestors? The familiar cartoon image of cavemen dragging women by the hair and clubbing mammoths is not just wrong. It misses the complexity of their daily lives entirely. When we speak of cavemen, we mean humans of the Paleolithic period, which lasted from about 2.6 million years ago to 12,000 years ago, over 99% of human history. This was a world before agriculture, cities, or writing, yet it was anything but static. Across this immense time span, humans developed new technologies, social structures, and artistic traditions. Our understanding comes from archaeological finds, stone tools, hearths, food remains, occasional preserved textiles and wood, as well as cave art and portable objects that hint at their symbolic world. Modern studies of hunter-gatherer societies also help, though comparisons must be cautious. Paleolithic life varied enormously depending on region, climate, and era. For example, Homo habilis in Africa 2 million years ago lived a radically different life than the Cro-Magnons, who painted the caves of France 20,000 years ago. Climate shaped daily routines more than anything else. Ice Age hunters on glacial plains lived differently from fisherfolk on temperate coasts. Yet all shared the hunter-gatherer way of life, a constant pursuit of food through hunting, fishing, and gathering wild plants. The rhythm of a Paleolithic day life was governed by natural light and the seasons. Morning began by rekindling the fire, an essential for warmth, light, protection, and cooking. Starting a fire from scratch was difficult, so embers were carefully preserved overnight. The first daylight hours were for urgent tasks, checking food supplies, repairing tools, scanning for game, and collecting water from streams or springs in animal bladders, baskets, or in later times, pottery. Food acquisition dominated the day. Men often hunted larger game, while women gathered plants and trapped smaller animals. But the division was flexible. Hunting was risky and could fail. Plant gathering was more reliable. Knowledge of seasonal cycles, passed down through generations, guided when to hunt certain animals or collect specific plants. Afternoons saw tool repair, food preparation, or rest during the hottest hours. As the sun set, people returned to camp, shared food, and gathered around the fire for storytelling, planning, and social bonding. Hunting, gathering, and food technology, early humans began as opportunistic scavengers. But by 500,000 years ago, sites like Boxgrove, England, show evidence of organized hunts, including a horse shoulder blade pierced by a spear. Over time, hunting tools evolved from simple hand axes to balanced wooden spears 400,000 years ago, spear throwers 30,000 years ago, and bows and arrows 20,000 years ago. Gathering was equally skilled work. Paleolithic diets were impressively diverse. Tubers, fruits, nuts, seeds, greens, and even medicinal plants confirmed by residue in ancient teeth. Fishing also emerged, with hooks and nets by around 9,000 years ago at Coster, Illinois. Season dictated focus: spring eggs and greens, summer berries and young animals, autumn nuts in preparation for winter, and winter reliance on stored or preserved foods, dried meat, frozen game, or cashew nuts. Cooking, which began at least 400,000 years ago, made foods more digestible and nutritious. Toolmaking and materials toolmaking was constant work. Early Oldowan tools were crude, but by 1.76 million years ago, Acheulean hand axes showed precision, flaking, and symmetry. Later innovations like the Levallois technique allowed finer control, and the Upper Paleolithic brought an explosion of specialized tools: scrapers for hides, awls for sewing, burins for engraving, and finely shaped projectile points. Materials extended beyond stone. Wood, rarely preserved, bone, ivory, and antler were used for hooks, needles, harpoons, and ornaments. Containers included gourds, shells, baskets, and hide bags, with pottery appearing by 20,000 years ago in China. Shelters and living spaces. Despite the stereotype, caves were only one type of shelter. In places like Terra Amida, France, 380,000 years ago, people built oval huts with wooden posts. At Mesozoic, Ukraine, 15,000 years ago, mammoth bones formed the frames of hide-covered dwellings. Inside, hearths anchored activity areas for sleeping, tool-making, and food preparation. Camps were maintained carefully, with repairs, cleaning, and waste disposal zones. Social life, art, and knowledge. Paleolithic bands typically had 20 to 30 members, often several related families. They weren't isolated. Materials from far away places show trade networks spanning hundreds of miles. Food sharing created mutual obligations, and large hearths at sites like Dolny Vestinus, Czech Republic, suggest communal feasts. Art flourished. Ochre processing at Blombos Cave, South Africa, 100,000 years ago. The Great Painted Caves of Europe, carved figurines, and even musical instruments like 43,000-year-old bone flutes. Music likely included drums and rhythms to accompany social and ritual events. Evidence of medicinal plant use, and possibly shamanic practices, points to complex, symbolic, and spiritual life. Violence existed, but was rare compared to later eras, likely due to low population density and resource abundance. The legacy of the Paleolithic way of life, was humanity's longest and most successful adaptation, enabling survival through extreme climate shifts and the colonization of nearly every habitat on Earth. It required deep environmental knowledge, flexible technology, and strong social bonds. Rather than primitive brutes, Paleolithic humans were skilled technologists, master ecologists, innovative artists, and cooperative community members. Their tools, social systems, and symbolic traditions laid the groundwork for everything that followed in human history.